Welcome back to Sip the Tally Films. I'm your host, Coach Evans. And today for our preview video, we're going to talk about the Baltimore Ravens versus the Los Angeles Chargers, which is going down Monday night, primetime video. So the world will be watching, all the eyes on NFL will be watching on this game. And this is an important game for the Baltimore Ravens. Let's get right into it and talk about where the Chargers stand as far as conference and playoff seedings, because it's that time of year when that stuff matters. Kansas City. The Chargers sit behind Kansas City in the AFC West at 7-3. Kansas City is 9-1. So they're second in their division. But as far as the playoff standing goes, which is what's important to us, and we need this just in case tiebreaker pops off later in the season, they're one place ahead of us in the current playoff standings. The Ravens are 6, the Chargers are 5, and again, 7-3 for them, 7-4 for us. We haven't had our bye week yet, which is coming up in week 14, which is this game, another game, then the bye week. But let's kind of get into the stats of, oh wow, as I'm recording this, the Giants releasing Daniel Jones. That is crazy that they released this man after paying him. So the Saquon thing looks really bad, and I think the GM's going to get up out of there too. But anyway, back to what we were doing. Let's get into the offense. The Ravens are first with 430 yards per game. The Chargers are 19th with 326. Passing yards, the Ravens are first in passing yards. It's a number I never thought I'd see. 252 yards passing. The Chargers are 19th again with 204 yards passing. Rushing yards, the Ravens are second. We have relinquished that rushing yards lead, or number one ranking, to the Philadelphia Eagles right now. We haven't had the greatest rushing attack the past couple of, last game in particular. The Chargers are 12th, 121.6 yards per game. As far as total TDs, total offensive TDs, the Ravens are first with 40. The Chargers are 19th again with 23. And that's 3 out of 4 categories the Chargers are 19th in. And then sacks given up, or sacks allowed. The Ravens are 29th, only allowing 15 sacks, and the Chargers are 15th, allowing 26 sacks. That's where they are offensively. Let's slide over to the defensive side. The Ravens are 26, or ranked 26 in defense. Never thought I'd see today. 362 yards of offense, and while the Chargers are 11th, they give up 317 yards of offense. Passing yards, we are last again. But the positive of this being last, well, ain't no positive of being last, the number has went down. We were right under 300 yards a couple weeks ago. We were 299 yards a couple weeks ago. Now we're down to 184. So let's just keep sliding on down, and we'll eventually get out of last place if we keep sliding on down. Well, the Chargers are passing, they're 12th, giving up 206 yards per game. Rushing, we're second. That has come up some. We were at 69 yards. Now we're 77.5, so we're second now. Rushing for them defensively, they're 11th. They give up 110 yards per game. TDs allowed, meaning TDs has been scored on their defense. We're 24th, giving up 29 TDs. They're first, only allowing 15 TDs so far. They're first in scoring defense too in the NFL. The Chargers are. They're first in scoring defense in the NFL. Sacks, as far as getting sacks, not giving them up this time. We're third with 35. They're 7th with 34. They're only 1 sack behind us in that category. Then interceptions, we're 16th with 7. They're 10th with 9. So defensively, they're pretty solid defensively. This won't be a cakewalk by no means. They're the number 1 scoring defense in the NFL. Yards-wise, they kind of give up a little bit, but the scoring defense is what matters. As we know last year, we know who finished number 1 in scoring defense last year. Us. So that the scoring does matter. That's that typical bend, don't break defense at its finest. When you can give up yards but don't give up points, it goes into wins. See what our record last year. Let's get into some individual matchups, and I'll talk about this here in a second. Justin Herbert versus Lamar Jackson. The quarterback, now they won't be on the field together, but just comparing the stats for each other. Completion percentage, Lamar 67, Herbert 63. Passing yards, Lamar's 2,800, Justin Herbert's 2,100. And I'm rounding these numbers. They are not exact numbers, but I'm looking at them, I'm rounding them. Passing yards a game, passing yards per attempt, Lamar is 9, Justin Herbert is 7.9. Passing yards a game, Lamar is 261.5, Herbert's 218.6. Passing TDs, Lamar 25, Herbert 13. Lamar has 3 interceptions, Justin Herbert only has 1. The whole year, Justin Herbert has thrown 1 interception. And honestly, Lamar's 3 interceptions, in my opinion, were all drops. So Lamar probably should have 0. But that could be me being biased, but it is what it is. Passer rating, Lamar 117, Justin Herbert 102. Rushing attempts, Lamar 95 for 584, Justin Herbert's 41 for 182. Now, even though he has nowhere close to the rushing yards as Lamar, Justin Herbert is not to be slept on while running the ball, especially in scrambles. So don't sleep on Justin Herbert running. I remember his last game at Oregon, he wasn't classified as a runner, but they added that part of the game in that bowl game, and he went off. Rushing TDs, Lamar has 2, Justin Herbert has 1. And that's kind of the quarterback rating. And obviously, Lamar is playing better quarterback right now. And but Justin Herbert is not doing bad. Not doing bad, especially under a G-Row system. And what this tells me is, and this has nothing to do with the game coming up, but with what they're doing with Justin Herbert and watching some of their tape, I don't think G-Row ever trusted Lamar to do some of the stuff he's allowing Justin Herbert to do. So that, to me, is more insult to injury, because some of the stuff that he's doing with Justin Herbert, he refused to do with Lamar, and just throws me off completely. But let's talk about the run game. J.K. Dobbins versus Derrick Henry. J.K. former Raven, Derrick Henry current Raven. Derrick Henry has 197 attempts, J.K. 154. Derrick Henry is second in the league in rushing right now with 1185. J.K. has 726. J.K. is 4.8 yards per carry. Derrick Henry is 6. J.K. with 8 touchdowns, King Henry with 13, which leads the league. J.K. has more receptions at 25 to 10 and more reception yards at 115 to 96. That's the running back comparison. We obviously have the best or the second best running back in the league right now is between him and Saquon, both who are on new teams, ironically. And but J.K. has really looked good. I watched some tape of J.K. earlier today, and his jump cut is back. He's looked like he's starting to get his burst back. And he looks real decisive in his runs. But I think that comes from knowing the system. He's been in that system most of his NFL career, so he kind of knows the ins and outs and the nuances of it. Sliding on over to the receiver aspect of it. Our leading receiver is Zay Flowers. Theirs is Ladd McConkey. And when you compare the two, Zay has 52 catches, Ladd 43. And Ladd's a rookie. Ladd's a rookie from Georgia. Yards, Zay has 727. Ladd has 615. Yards per catch are pretty even. Ladd has 14.3 and Zay has 14 even. Both have 4 touchdowns, 4 receiving touchdowns, but Zay has a few rushes. He has 6 rushes for 47 yards. Ladd doesn't have any. But to think about some other pass catchers for them, they have Quentin, who was kind of considered a bust before this year, but is starting to make a few plays down the field. Now, he still have drop issues and other issues in his game, but he's actually benefited from being in a Greg Roman system. I never thought I'd say that about a receiver, and I'm talking about Quentin Johnson. And Ladd, I knew Ladd was a baller just from what he did at Georgia. And when you look at the matchups across the board, when you look at their defense versus our offense, our offensive line has their hands full, in my opinion. Our offensive line has their hands full with Bosa. And Dupree's not ranked high, not graded high, but I remember Dupree from his Steeler days, and we had problems with him then. So our offensive line still has to deal with Bosa. I don't know if Khalil Mack will be back. I hope he's not back. I don't think he's going to be back. But even if Khalil is in there and Dupree has to come out, that makes it even tougher on him. But I'm also not worried about the tackle so much. I'm worried about the guard-center guard combo. They hadn't been playing great lately. And Linderbaum's numbers have been down, but I think it's from compensating with both guards. Both guards have not been good, and Linderbaum has to try to compensate for them, which is taking away from his play a little bit. But running the football will definitely help that. Running the football will help that. As far as on the edges with the skill positions, Cam Hart, who's one of their young players, who I don't think is playing but it's a pretty good player, good rookie too from Notre Dame, if I'm not mistaken. But he's not playing, so we should have the edge on the back end. The guy that really scares me for them is Derwin. Because Derwin, like Kyle, can be anywhere and do anything, whether it be blitzing, covering, deep safety, strong safety, the little weak side linebacker. Derwin is an animal. And I always tell the story about how I saw Pickens, what he did at the FSU camp. I also saw Derwin James at a FSU practice when I moved here. And they were doing 7-on-7, and he went versus the tight ends, the receivers, backs, in about 6 straight reps. Nobody caught a ball on him. And I'm telling you, like, not do a rep, then get some water and come back. 6 straight reps. He had receivers, tight end, running back. Nobody caught a ball. And Derwin been one of them dudes for a long time. Aloha Gilman is solid so far, but I think on the back end, if we implement our guys the way we should, and I think I want to see more Deontay Johnson. So to me, our top 3 receivers need to be Deontay Johnson, Bateman, and Flowers. And then you come with Andrews and Likely. And those 5, to me, is a lot better than what the Chargers can put out there. Perriman, they're one of theirs, well, not one of their starting linebacker, I don't think is playing also. He got hurt last game as well. But we need a lot of Henry, a lot of Jackson running the ball. And I don't mean design runs. I mean, Lamar can run from scrambles, but Henry need to get the ball and go. But the thing is, people, complain about the Henry carries. Henry gets most of his carries when we up. So let's get up. But when you look at the other side, their offense versus our defense, we know. We give up a bunch of yards, and they're technically not a passing team, they're a run team. So it should be our good run defense versus their good run game. Their O-line is pretty solid. But our D-line is pretty solid. When you look at the PFF grades, it's out of those 9 guys, their 5 O-linemen, our 4 defensive linemen, there are 1 person that is not in the green, and that's Bradley Bozeman, another former Raven. But this should be a key matchup to watch. Their offensive line versus our defensive line. They got rookie Joe Alt, Slater, Rashawn Slater, Johnson, Pippins, Bozeman, and they got Salyer as their 6th offensive lineman that came from Georgia a couple years ago. So offensive line-wise, they're stacked pretty good. On the edge, we talked about McConkey earlier, talked about Johnson a little bit earlier. They also got their quick twitch guy, which is Palmer. So can't sleep on them outside, especially if we devote too much to JK in the run game and Gus in the run game. They can hurt us outside. So we got to put together another good defensive performance and come away with some bend but don't break. But this is an opportunity to do that because they like to run and then play action off the run. But if we can stop their run, that'll kind of negate that play action and make them be straight dropbacks. Then we can kind of do some things then. I don't think Roquan is playing, so that's going to be huge. I don't know who takes his spot. Does Malik take his spot, or does Boyd take his spot? Because if Malik takes his spot, then that means that's another edge they got to come in on runs. So it's going to be a conundrum to see how the rotation changes if Roquan is out. I don't know if Simpson may go and play Mike because he did all preseason as well, but we'll see. But as far as the individual matchups, I think on paper we should win them. But I do like that O-line. Joe Alt is playing amazing as a rookie right tackle. Herbert's playing amazing, in the G-Row system. Again, I got on that soapbox a minute ago, and then JK seems like to be back. But him and Gus is going to be real amped up about this game. Maybe even Bradley Bozeman as well. Talk about some insights for this before we close this thing up. Derrick Henry leads the NFL with 13 rushing TDs in 2024, while the Chargers defense has only allowed 3 TDs. That's the fewest in the NFL. So again, it's iron going against iron. Our good rush defense versus their good defensive line. Now, Perriman being out going to hurt, but still. Their defense, they don't let people score. They give you yards, but they don't let people score. Another tidbit, Derrick Henry has scored at least 1 touchdown in each of the first 11 games of 2024. That's the longest streak since Jerry Rice in 1987. Another one, John and Jim Harbaugh face off each other for the 3rd time as head coaches, the first since Super Bowl, 12 years ago. The Ravens are 2-0 in that matchups. This is not the time to let John get his first one. Jim. This is time not to let Jim get his first one. I apologize. Another one about Derrick Henry. Since entering the league in 2016, Derrick Henry has reached at least 20 miles per hour on 28 carries, tied for the most in that span with Saquon Barkley. Ironically, the two dudes that's leading the NFL in rushing right now. Ironically. We do two more, then we get about here. The Ravens offense have run 43.8% of their rushes from under center, which is up from 17.4% from last season. Thank you, Lord Jesus. The highest ranked since Lamar entered the league in 2018. We've been clamoring for under center stuff for 2 or 3 years. I don't know if they just heard us or they just figured out, oh, this might can work. And then lastly, the Ravens offense have seen single high shells at the highest rate, 52.5% in the league. Two high pre-snap safety shells are the lowest at 41.6 of their offensive snaps this season. Now, I did read something before coming to record this, that Lamar has had his worst games versus cover one teams. It's the Steelers, I think Commanders, and it was 2 other teams on there, but they said his 4 worst games this year. Now, worst don't necessarily mean they were bad games, but the 4 worst games of him this year, because he's been playing solid all year except for last week. But they were versus cover one team. So either our guys are not separating like they're supposed to, or we just not making the accurate throws. And I think our guys are not separating like they're supposed to. That's what I think it is, because Lamar's been lights out in every way this season. And this brings me to how we can beat them. Offensively, we gotta get a lead. Hopefully, that opening script will produce a touchdown, run the rock, dictate to them what we want to do. Don't let them dictate to us, and mix in the play action. Get the tight ends involved. I think you got a plethora of weapons. Nobody has to have 9, 10 catches, but everybody needs to have 3, 4, 5 catches. That way you can't just lock in and defend one person. But Derrick Henry needs to eat. Let Keaton touch the ball a couple times. That's home run hitter. He don't need but 4 or 5 touches. But that comes with getting the lead and running the ball. Don't be as predictable. So defensively, you got to stop the run. We can't let them play action pass. They get in the play action pass and get us in, single high stuff. Both Ladd and Quentin can fly. Nate is the only one really on the back end for us that can fly. So I'd really rather have them in front of us, and we can make the tackles if they make catches. But if their play action game get going, that means we're going to be in single high shell. We're going to be in some one-on-one matchups, and that's where they can kind of get us at. But I think we win this game, man, because we show up in prime time. The easy games, well, not the easy games, the not as flashy as media covered games, we kind of sit back and be like, take our head down and take a breath, and then they let teams beat us. But national game, brother versus brother, huge playoff implications. I think the Ravens pull out a victory 31-27 on Monday night. And I don't necessarily think it goes down to like an epic end of the game drive. I think they may be scored like late to get to that 27 and make the score look closer than the game actually is. So that's my preview video for this week. I appreciate y'all for coming out. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you chose to be here with me. So like, comment, subscribe, and share. And we'll see y'all in the next one, man. Peace and love. Go Ravens.